Good morning, everyone. This is Mike Berger again with NC Planning, bringing you another Daily Counsel update. I had originally planned that there'd be a more general business topic that we would discuss today, but as always, Congress is on the move and shifting and changing things around the PPP loan program. So today, our Daily Counsel is yet another breaking news sort of style Daily Counsel. Yesterday, Thursday, the House passed what is being called H.R. 7010. It is being coined as the Paycheck Protection Program Flexibility Act of 2020. And basically what this does is it serves as an amendment to the CARE Act. And it's, again, passed the House, still has to go to the Senate, ultimately to President for signature into law. But the proposal is basically to amend certain provisions of the CARES Act to make the forgiveness concept of the PPP loan program more attainable, more flexible for the business owner, for you, so that you can hopefully meet the requirements. They seem to understand that business owners are trying to use these funds in the spirit and purpose for which they were granted, but some folks are running into some problems with the rigid concepts or parameters around how to use the funds, the timing to use the funds, the percentages. And so what this does, and I'm going to do a screen share here to show you the text from the legislation right from congress.gov. So this will, again, it's passed the House. It still has to go to the Senate. It's not law yet, but this gives us a good indication of where things seem to be heading. So if you're looking with me now, sharing my screen, this is, again, congress.gov. This is the text of the act. And you can see here it gives this title of the act, the short title, Paycheck Protection Program Flexibility Act of 2020. The web address is up here. You can get it and read it yourself. But as you can kind of see, this is really to amend the Small Business Act and CARES Act. It's not going to rewrite or craft new legislation. It's just going to amend certain provisions of the existing legislation. Some of the amendments that I just want to touch on really quickly here, the proposals to strike June 30, 2020 and replace it with December 31, 2020. So what that's going to do is that's going to extend the covered period of time under the PPP loan program, the CARES Act program. The forgiveness section they're looking to amend. This is huge for business owners. We've talked a lot on our videos. I've talked to a lot of clients about the constraint, the problem with the 8-week period that was originally put into the law, and Congress is apparently addressing that. They're proposing that the 8-week period, the time period from origination of the loan to use your proceeds, be now expanded. This legislation proposes to 24 weeks. I do want to note here that I believe the Senate is working on crafting similar legislation or bill, but I read that they are looking to expand it from 8 weeks to 16 weeks. So we may have some debate in Congress amongst Senate when they review this before it gets passed into law to try to adjust that time period. But right now, the House is proposing 24 weeks, which would be fantastic for business owners. Again, some other exemptions based on employee availability here are being modified. Still working through those to understand the impact. I wanted to touch on this one, the limitation on forgiveness. So we talked also about the threshold for forgiveness being 75% of the loan proceeds have to be used for payroll costs, and then up to 25% used for other things like rent and utilities. This section here would amend that concept, and it would lower the payroll cost threshold from 75% to 60%. And that would then, in effect, increase the rent utility threshold from 25% to 40%. So those would be huge factors for employers. So for instance, like maybe restaurants who couldn't rehire their entire workforce because they couldn't reopen to 100% capacity. Now maybe that restaurant can rehire 60% of their workforce or whatnot, spend 60% of the money on payroll, and still reach the maximum forgiveness under, albeit a much lower threshold, easier to obtain. So these are just a couple of the highlights of the legislation. We're going to be tracking this. Again, it's passed the House, needs to go to the Senate, and then to POTUS for review and signature. We're hopeful that there is some movement here and that the adjustments will be made, because I really do think for the majority of small and mid-sized business owners out there, these amendments could really add flexibility to the use of the PPP loan proceeds and allow them to reach that maximum level of forgiveness. As always, thank you for tuning in. If you found this informative, if you're following us on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up, a like, and a subscribe. Please feel free to share this with your network. As always, we're happy to address any questions you leave in the comments. And we will stay on top of this and continue to bring you breaking news and updated developments from the Congress and the Senate debate on this legislation, hoping to get some value into some relief to some business owners. Until then, everyone, stay safe, and we'll talk with you soon.